Yes, if you just joined us, you're still watching New Dawn right on Ogun State Television, and this is the interview segment. Of course, the second leg or the part two of the interview segment. Today we are done with agriculture. Now let's talk about one of the issues, yes, shaping discourse, everywhere, and it is the Nmdpra MD Farouk Ahmed resignation amidst corruption scandal. Maybe to give you a bit of background, you'd recall that yes, Dangote blew the whistle, and yes, interestingly, just a few days ago, he resigned together with the NUPRC chairman Benga Komolafe, and the president has acted so swiftly. There are nominees for that positions already. But let's talk about that issue. And joining us this morning is an iconoclast, yes, one of the few iconoclasts we have in Nigeria. As a public commentator and media expert, Mr. Akintoye. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Moses.
Yeah, doing Sola.
Okay, talking about the resignation of Farouk and Benga Komolafe, I mean, the two of them resigned at the same time. Now, what are the potential implications of Farouk Ahmed's resignation on Nigeria's oil and gas sector? Let's begin from there.
All right, so thank you very much, Sola. What I think basically is that one of the best things that has happened to Nigeria since fried rice is the institution called Dangote, and the fact that it's trying as much as possible to ensure that things are done properly, like they are done in more senile climes. What am I trying to say is the fact that after a while, we've been hearing of the cartel, the mafias behind the petroleum industry, both downstream, both upstream, talking about the mafia, talking about highly powerful, highly connected individuals that backs that industry called the petroleum industry. Don't forget, this is the mainstay of an economy. This is the monolistic sustenance of Nigeria. And they're extremely powerful people that you and I cannot confront. As a matter of fact, even governments sometimes find it very difficult to confront them. So you now have a man by the name Aliko Dangote, maybe apart from Mansa Musa, the richest man that has ever come out of Africa, saying, look, you can't gag me, you can't corner me, you can't put me in a box. You are actually doing the wrong things, And then they have a narrative, a rhetoric that says that Dangote was trying to monopolize the economy, and they are sounding like they are acting in the best interest of Nigerians. And because they have this well-plotted narrative of, look, we are here as a regulatory body, we will ensure that there is no monopoly in this industry for the betterment of Nigerians. It sounds laudable, but the truth is, if you understand body language, if you understand how to psychologically observe a man, you will realize who is telling the truth and who is lying. If you look at the physiognomy of Dangote when he was talking, he sounded petty. But at the same time, you see a man speaking out of pain in the interest of Nigerians, saying, look here, you have licensed about 47 companies to start bringing in fuel. This is at the detriment of our local initiative to refine our crude ourselves. Don't forget, once we are able to refine crude, and Dangote is able to maximize production capacity, there will be less pressure on the dollar. And when there is less pressure on the dollar, the invisible hands help favors Naira, and the exchange rate is favorable, and things get better for Nigerians. What I'm trying to say is, to give proper context to what is going, you have to go into diverse nuance to explain how they got to the boiling point. And that boiling point is the point where a man that has not been given over to frivolities, a man that is not petty in terms of Aliko Dangote, coming out to say, hey, you guys are messing up. And it's so bad that if they are not careful, Dangote was ready to go down the rabbit hole to talk about, to list the children, to list their school fees, to say, look, a public officer How do you raise $5 million? That's about 7.5 billion naira on 4 children, where people from Sokoto, where you emanated from, are hungry and starving.
Well, Mr. Akintoye, it's also yet to be proven because, I mean, I was reading when someone had said there's even no school, even in Switzerland, that pays that much. So we've not really heard from Farouk Ahmed. There was a release which he denounced that it didn't come from him. So till now it has not really been proven if he spent that amount of money, if he paid that sum to a school in Switzerland. And don't you think this is just power play?
Okay, so yes, it's power play. Power is at the center of everything. The epicenter of politics, economy is power. But you see, let me quickly say this. It's allegedly, yes, but you see, Dangote is not a man giving over to frivolities. And he was talking precisely. He has the name, he has the schools.
So why do you trust Dangote so much?
Why? Because there are people around individuations like Dangote. You can't become the richest man in Africa, and you don't have intelligence team around you. You don't have very cerebral people that does your... There are far-reaching implications if those allegations were false. You know why? Because Farouk will sue Dangote and will milk him dry. So he knows the consequences of all these things, and so he has to he has to be precise. Allegedly, I understand.
They say if the richest man in Africa can actually be made dry, by a lawsuit.
Yes.
But anyway, if you look at the Petroleum, Act, it is an open market. So they should be free to import. Dangote also should be free to produce. But if there is competitiveness, if there is competition in the market, but if Dangote's fuel is lower, if the price is low, for example, let's say Dangote is selling for 500 naira and they cannot sustain it, naturally to get to that point that their businesses will fold up. Because can we also afford monopoly in the oil sector? And the second question is Dangote production enough for Nigerians? So if these guys are not importing, can we see what Dangote produces per day? Is it enough for us?
Okay, I think your question is multifaceted, and I've been trying to,
because of our time.
Yes, I've been trying to track it so that I don't get carried away. It's a topic that makes you sway easily. Okay, so to start with, monopoly in this sense, Dangote is not enjoying monopoly right now. What Dangote is saying is that
Dangote would prefer monopoly.
Yes,
currently there is no monopoly.
But if you have been listening to Dangote, he's not talking like someone who wants to monopolize that market. Number one is the petroleum refinery business is not sugar, is not cement. And as we speak now, there are about 3 companies, 3 heavy meat companies that are already going into their own refinery that might hopefully have them commissioned this year, next year or year after.
But what I'm trying to say, not as big as Dangote, not even up to half.
Yes, but you see, competition is competition. Why? Because we've never had data that speaks specifically to the precise amount of oil or fuel that we consume as a nation in the days of subsidy. So this is the first time that if truly they remove subsidy, we can now say this is the amount of fuel we consume, this is the amount of fuel Dangote is able to produce, and then we want to know if Dangote can sustain us or not. But in my own estimation, the way I've been following the story, the truth is, what Dangote refinery has is more than enough for us and 7 other countries. And I'm saying this specifically so that you understand what's happening. If the regulatory bodies continue to issue out certificate of importation, there are products that can come into Nigeria deliberately to gag Stephen Dangote refinery. People do this in economics. People do this power play in commercial terms. Meaning, I want to kill Moses or Jeremy. I'm going to bring in somebody from BBC or CNN that speaks better than him. I'll pay him for 3 months. Once Moses is out, then I've achieved. So what I'm trying to different. Yes, what I'm trying to say is that if they go to Russia still subsidizes fuel about 20 to 25%, and they're able to get fuel out of Russia. They go to Malta, they blend these things. It will deliberately come in cheaper, not because Dangote's fuel is cheaper and so it cannot compete, but because the power players want to deal with Dangote. So that is one. Then secondly, with the avalanche, with several people coming in, bringing in fuel, it will reduce profitability for Dangote. There's this report that Dangote has lost $102 billion from this is refinery kind of a thing. Look at the initiatives that Dangote has done, and you see that how is it not in the best interest of Nigerians? For example, Dangote imported 4,000 trucks. And Dangote is saying, look here, any amount I release my fuel, for example, I release my fuel at 699 naira per liter. That is how much it will get to your fuel station, meaning you are not going to pay for logistics. You are not going to pay for the trucks that will bring it to you. I mean, tell me how this is not in the interest of Nigerians. This has never happened before, unprecedented. Nmdpra has never done it before. Nobody has taken such initiative. And Dangote is even saying as of 2 days ago that, look, if you think this is not going to be enough, I'm going to bring in additional 4,000 trucks to make sure that the nooks and crannies of Nigeria get fuel at reduced price. Don't forget, we are talking of the downstream and the upstream. There's a lot of frustration coming in for Dangote from the downstream. What do I mean? If they say, look, you don't have an oil block, we are not releasing oil, we are not releasing crude oil to you, Dangote is at their mercies. And that's why this man is crying out that, look, I have good intention. If you look at Dangote, you see that it's very simple in his physiognomy, in his pulchritude. You see a man saying, look, I mean better. I mean, we have these things. It costs us nothing. It's like water. When you dig a well, you find water. Apart from the fact that a refining capacity, you have to have this sulfur, have this, have that, make it useful for automobile industry. Dangote is saying this thing should not be this expensive. We want to bring it down. Okay. And some people are saying, look, you can't do that. We have to sell to you in dollars. He said, what do you sell to me in dollars? I'm a local player, I'm here, right here. And so, if you check all the dots, you see that Dangote is the guy that sounds fair. Okay, now, we know that Dangote has already blown the whistle. And now, let's talk about the specific evidence that the ICPC can consider in investigating the allegations against Farouk. I don't see the allegation going far in terms of follow-up. Okay. What is usual, what we see in common parlance in the Nigerian space is that they are going to all drop the issue. Dangote will keep quiet once they do his bidding. And the ICPC, because Farouk Ahmed is a big man. And when you're a big man, you are in charge, even though he has resigned. But you can see that they may not follow up on the resignation. That is one. Two, if they decide to follow up on the resignation, it will be laudable. I will applaud the president if they have the courage, the temerity.
Would you allow them to follow up on the resignation?
That would have been the best thing since Father Christmas.
Why?
You see, accountability is something that is not in our space. What Dangote has called for is accountability. And guess what? Accountability is like a two-edged sword. Dangote himself will be facing accountability anytime soon. And once we are accountable as a people, as a nation, our country begins to shape up. Things begin to happen in the interest of the common man. Everybody begins to enjoy the largesse of good governance, which Bola Ahmed Tinubu can be bringing on table. I'm saying this because if you watch what is happening now, the government is playing along like, oh, they've always wanted it that way. They are neutral, and whoever is corrupt will take the person out. But I see a situation where if ICPC venture into this thing, my sister, Doinsola, what will happen is you can't deny international transactions. Farouk Lawan is supposed to earn like 4 million naira per month or less. Okay? And so if you are now funding just your kids up to 7 billion naira, you know, there's no way he will be able to get himself out of that. I'm not talking as a legal practitioner. I'm just talking about somebody that is observing what is going on in the public space. And if you see, it's not in our nature to resign.
It's not proven to be true.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not in our nature to resign as Nigerians. You know, you see a man that has done very.
So you're saying for him to resign?
Yes, for him to resign is indicative of something deeper, allegedly. You know, so that is one. Two, for him to resign could also come from the powers that be. It could come from Aso Rock saying, "Guy, it's time for you to resign." Don't forget.
But Mr. Akintoye, what has that got to do with the now the former Chief Executive Officer of the NUPRC, Gbenga Komolafe. Because NUPRC has done well. Daily production, has increased.
Gbenga Komolafe has done excellently well, as far as eyes can see. I don't know behind the scene. But the truth is that in any war, in any game of power, there are collateral damages. If a situation like that happens, and there are two sister bodies highly connected, they work together, and then you are removing politically, the way we structure, we put politics into play. Gbenga Komolafe has to become a collateral damage, because if a Yoruba president is removing an Hausa Fulani man, yes, and he leaves the Yoruba man, the head news, the perception of the nation will be like the Yoruba people have started. So he has to make Gbenga Komolafe a pawn or a collateral damage in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, mentioning the international space the other time, how will it transition to new leadership in what ongoing projects initiatives in this sector concerning the foreign investments and the rest?
It's a good signal. It's a good signal that the mafias can be touched if they are mafias. If the Farouk Lawans of this world constitute a mafia, it's a good signal for investors. People bringing in their money, they are assured of their return on their investments, and so they know that we now live in a nation where the power of the media is important. Do you know that it's not the petition? People are saying Dangote should have written a petition, but you see, he knows that that may be swept under the carpet, so he came to media. And that's why you all have to recognize that what you are doing here is massive and is going a long way to shape our country. So what I see, like to your question, is when new people come on board, now they know that they are not almighty, they are not all powerful. This has not happened before. You can't say anything like this before. And so they come in having accountability at the back of their mind. So if they have children allegedly that they want to send abroad for 10 billion, they understand there has been precedents, they act accordingly, and then things get better for us as Nigerians.
Okay, well, you can call us, you can be part of this conversation. Just dial the number on your screen. We have about 15 minutes to go. What's your take?
15? It's not up to 15.
Okay, not even up to 15. But why not? We can take a few calls before we round off the show.
Before you take
Mr. Akintoye.
Yeah, one more question before that. I just want to ask about what you think is Dangote's motivations for pursuing the allegations against Ahmed.
So if Dangote did not go that route, he may not get a result. The result is the name of the game. So Dangote is a very cerebral, very intelligent man. So he understands that, look, if you don't mount pressure, if you don't push, if he doesn't use himself, if he uses his PR people, if he uses his spokesperson, he's not going to have gravitas, he's not going to have weight. Like using himself, coming on board himself, you understand? He's not rich for nothing. So that is what I think caused it. In my opinion, he's ready. It sounded like this is his first phase. If this does not work, I'll push further. So that's what his result. I want to have results. No man will invest $20 billion and then you mess him up. He's going to fight back like a dog back to the cage.
Like a wounded lion. Okay.
So now there are replacements already. I think Orishe Menyiwa, Amanori Shewu, Yeson, to replace Komolafe now, and engineer Saidu Mohammed to replace Farouk. What are your expectations now? Do you think has this created a kind of lacuna in which these ones we definitely want to work with Dangote, even if it's not in the best interests, of the oil sector?
Okay, so there's something I forgot to talk about, and it's important that we talk about it in line with your question. Number one, not many people saw Dangote's refinery coming 6 years ago. So there are people, there are players that have invested largely in the tank farms, in the oil farms. And so with Dangote's optimized production capacity, it will be impracticable for them to stay in business. And that's one of the reasons why Dangote has been crying out that, look, I know you guys want to strengthen me. I know you guys want to kill my business, so I'm going to fight back, okay? And so that is something that we must put on the table, that there are other invisible hands fighting Dangote. Secondly, to your question, these new guys are not coming in like business as usual. You know, they've seen what happened to their predecessor, and you know, these are developing stories. You're still going to hear a lot of stories as the day goes by, and so they will not be comfortable. For example, like Benga Komolafe that we spoke about, he was the first person that put data to our consumption, that put data to our import, that's when Dangote himself was on the hot seat. We were talking about the sulfur in his fuel. Was it good enough? Was it, you know, comparing him with global standard? This was never the case before. It's whatever they sold to us as fuel that they sold to us. And now Dangote fired back and said, you guys don't even have a lab. You don't even have a functioning lab as an NPC or PRC or as a Nmdpra. You guys don't even have a functioning lab. And so, we don't even know that was the state of things. And these guys, these regulators, they kept quiet and they begin to make adjustments and they begin to work on how they develop a lab. And so whoever is coming in now understand that, look, we are not just going to be leaders or regulators that does things within our whims and caprices. We are going to be regulators that will be accountable ultimately to the Nigerian people. Because apart from the wealth, stupendous wealth that Dangote has, is a Nigerian like you and I. And now he's able to shake the most powerful Nigerians and make the government respond. So your question will have a twin in the fact that even the government of the day now understands that they can't just leave these regulatory bodies, even though they are independent regulatory bodies. They are supposed to function as independent regulatory body, but yet they must scrutinize to ensure that corruption is not the order of the day in these places.
Okay, let's talk about the challenges that these new nominees are likely to face, like the Nmdpra and the Nuprc, and how they might address the issues raised now.
Okay, they're going to face, first of all, a psychological challenge. You know, because they want to tread softly with Dangote now, you know, once beaten, twice shy kind of a thing. They want to tread, so psychologically, even if they see a right thing, they may not want to push it. And we must put that to the table. If they see Dangote in error in certain specific areas, they may not want to push it because they know that he will fight back, and that's bad. Secondly, the 47 licensed operators that have been licensed to bring in fuel into the country, what happens when it comes to Dangote still insisting that he's killing local initiative? Will they let them continue to bring it in, or will they stop it?
Even though we saw the 15% tariff the other time, but that was not able to fly. That was reversed at the end of the day. I'm sure Dangote wasn't happy with the reversal of that tariff, because 15% tariff on imported oil, we know what that means. Yes. It may discourage these importers, you know, from doing this. So, well, our time is fast spent. I wanted to ask about the NNPC refineries. There have been talks of why is it not high time we sold these refineries to a private hand, so that can create some form of, you know, competition. We need more refineries in the country, because the fear still remains, you know, we don't even know how much we consume. And is Dangote producing enough? Can we afford a system where Dangote is the only one producing oil? Is that, you know, healthy? Is that good enough? But if you have more refineries, I know that there are refineries coming up, but we don't know how long the production will take. So why are we still holding on to these refineries? The other time they said it has started working, but right now I'm sure they are not producing any oil.
Still not working.
So what's happening within that sector?
What seems to be happening is the invisible hands, they will never let it work, because it is in not working that they make money. If the NNPC refineries are working, they will not bring in fuel. If they don't bring in fuel in the days of subsidy, they will not get subsidy. Now they will not get, so they are the ones enjoying the monopoly.
That's where the president comes in. To say, because if the president says we are selling, the NNPC has no choice than
Yes.
to follow that directive.
Yes, but you know there are legalities to these things, there are complexities to it, and so this question you ask is a question that every Nigerians have always acted. You know, they just expect President Tinubu to just mandate NNPC, sell crude oil to Dangote at Naira rate, at this rate, blah blah. But it's not as simple as that. The same gag of governance will also hold the presidency. So largely and lastly, I want to say that it's a good thing that has happened because for the first time somebody is saying what happens to my tax that I've been paying. Don't forget Dangote is the highest taxpayer, if I'm right, highest taxpayer in Nigeria. And then if somebody is lavishing the money allegedly, he has the right to ask. You are going into a new tax regime. You and I will ask government, what have you done with my taxes?
Okay.
Well, the conversation, of course, is still ongoing, and there will be more development. Particularly, Nigerians are waiting for Farouk Ahmed to respond to this allegation. That's why I said whatever Dangote has said about Farouk Ahmed, it has not yet been proven, just no allegation. But that has led to the new development of resignation, and we have new nominees. Shemewa Amanalushewu Ayeson to replace Komolafe, the NUPRC. Then engineer Saidu Mohammed, to replace Farouk Ahmed as the CEO of Nmdpra. So that's the show.
We have to go.
Okay, of course, that's the show this morning. Many thanks for watching. We go now. Newdon returns on Monday with another set of anchors.
Well, as Moses has said, join us again on Monday with other colleagues on this state here, bringing another interesting topic. Thank you so much, Mr. Akitoye, for coming to this show.
You're welcome.
So until Monday, make sure you remain a good ambassador of this nation.